Welcome. The Pueblo Star Journal presents Soul Fresh, Soul Clean podcast. Soul Fresh, Soul Clean is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast. Episode 3, titled Community, Criticism, and Connection, was produced and narrated by Jocelyn Martinez and Gregory Howell.
Welcome to the Voices of Pueblo podcast. This is a special edition of the Soul Fresh, Soul Clean podcast, and I'm here with
Jocelyn Martinez.
Thank you, Jocelyn. This is really exciting. We're already at episode number 3, which this particular episode, we're focusing on community, criticism, and connection. You know, we've talked about this a little bit and touched upon it in some of our previous episodes, but this is really coming from your heart. And it's something that we've talked about, but I think now that we're in episode number 3, it's really important that perhaps we spend a little bit more time talking about how this really is at the core of what we're trying to accomplish. And when you start talking about community, criticism, and connection, boy, you can get really caught up in all the noise and swirl, and we're trying to avoid all of the noise and swirl. We really have to ask ourselves at this point in time, when we talk about community, what builds it? What breaks it? And I know you've really been thinking hard about this, and I wonder if you could just share at the beginning of this podcast really what some of those truly heartfelt thoughts are on this particular subject matter.
Yeah, thank you. This is something it's been on my heart for, a few years now, but really there's been a lot of things that have come to light that I have been watching that really just, one, sadden me, but also I think it's important for sometimes for us to really tap into these things so that we can have these aha moments of like, oh, wow, do I participate in that? How am I building our community? And when you talk about community, criticism, and connection, they're really all interconnected forces that truly shape social bonds and individual well-being. I mean, authentic relationships within our community require both support, connection, which really fosters that belonging, and constructive criticism. And that's what I also want to bring up. Like, criticism is great. It's great for growth and improvement. And as a business owner and a restaurateur, it's really important to, one, if you have a bad experience, to give those people an opportunity to fix it and to say it in a way which is heartfelt and not so negative, which really, that criticism can be detrimental to that unity if it's handled improperly. And that's what I'm really seeing a lot of.
And it just seems like, where did all the kindness go? It just seems like when you talk about criticism, like you said, it can go both ways. It can be such a helpful tool when we start trying to make ourselves better. But for some reason, I don't know what happened to kindness, but you can't really blame it on the pandemic. We have all these excuses.
Right.
But I'm just wondering, because that's the other thing. The Pueblo Star Journal, everything we're doing in building community is we're just trying to be a little bit more kind each and every day. So I know that's something I keep on looking at because I love criticism, even if it's about something that, might sting a little bit in the beginning. Right. But if you just take a deep breath and step back, everyone benefits, everyone learns if it's done in a polite, respectful manner.
Exactly. It's a learning opportunity for both sides. And that's just what I wish we could get better as like a collective, and especially for the entrepreneurs out there that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into these businesses, their livelihoods into the business. Deep connections are built through those shared identities, those cultures, those experiences, really offering benefits like resilience, which, really is the key to most successful businesses.
Without a doubt. And it's the Pueblo story, too.
That's what I'm saying. Pueblo in general as well. Like, we're built on resilience.
We shouldn't even be on the map. It's crazy.
Right. And how often do you hear like, oh, you're from Pueblo, or oh, Pueblo doesn't entertain that kind of thing, and we do. Or you see, we just had the Still City Showcase, and people online were like, whoa, that kind of thing happens in Pueblo, and it's like those kinds of things are positive, but they can be overseen and overshadowed by some of the negative that goes on as well. That's just something that's really important to me, and I think it's also important to be kind. I'm one of these people, like I go to restaurants and
right.
I can tell you, Gregory, so many times my food is wrong. There's something in it and I have to send it back. And I'm like, oh, great. And I always look at it from a place like, hey, I understand.
Right.
I'm a restaurant person.
Right.
But on the other hand, I could get really mad and I can say some dirty things and I can be really angry about it. But it's also a learning experience for them
Right.
to fix it as
That's
well.
right. That's right. And there's a way to handle that. And I think the first part of this segment that we're looking at in terms of community, what does real community support look like? How do we define that community support? Like you said, that there are ways to approach things, and especially when you're talking about building community, that one sounds like this grandiose thing. But I mean, just walking out your door in the morning, as soon as you start taking steps to your car or getting in your car and going, I mean, right at the very start of your day, there are conscious decisions that you can make about how you want your day to unfold. And I think maybe it's one thing that we can do. I know at the Pueblo Star Journal, one of the things that we're trying to do with each and every article, with each and every story, is try to build community. And once you build community, how do you engage people? How do you get them to actually want to take a little bit of ownership and just show up and do some of the hard work? I mean, how do you look at that, just as far as that sense of what does real community support look like? And recently, and we've talked about this, there are certain situations that come up where you find yourself in this unique situation. Like you just said, the restaurant business, you can approach it this way or that way. I think this is our opportunity to show people that maybe it's just taking a deep breath before you respond, or it's almost like de-escalation practices that we have.
Right, we all have to go back to like those mindset practices. We have to go to the 1, 2, 3, take a breath and then respond.
Exactly.
Or just understand that we're all people.
That's right.
And I think that's like one of the biggest things that's been bothering me lately is the crisis of connection.
Yeah.
I think with showing up in our community in a positive, safe way and really allowing free spaces to build businesses to be of service to their community without the negative backlash. There's so many people and so many businesses and restaurants in this community that really go above and beyond to figure out how to bring that connection, how to have events, how to be authentic.
Right.
And then when they do, when it's brought back with negative responses online or having like those keyboard critics that get online and start saying mean things about businesses, they're not only voicing their opinion in an incorrect way, they may be also putting their anger towards something else, towards that business that has nothing to do with it.
Right.
But it breaks down the morale of the leadership. Then you start getting businesses that become bitter. They start not caring about their clients and their customers, or they just don't want to do those community events anymore because they're like, why should I?
Right.
No one's showing up. And when they do, they're not kind about it. And
I like that term they use, the crisis connection. It is really, because connectivity, just being able to connect on whatever level, that's where it all starts. And I guess, like you said, you can consciously decide that you do want to go in that direction. You want to find a connection. And then sadly, it does you get jaded after a while. And you're like, well, why should I even bother? The last 3 times I did that, it just ended up being kind of bitter. So, again, it gets back to this whole thing. We can look back historically at what the universe went through, what humanity went through when we kind of got shut down for a while.
Yeah.
But, that's the past. We got to live with today,
that
front
was
and
6
center.
years ago.
Exactly. I know. That's what, it just blows me away. But in that particular area, when you start talking about it, what do you think is missing maybe? Because I love that term, this connection crisis, because that's kind of what it is. It's like, even if you you want to have have we lost the ability? What is it that might be missing in that? And if we talk about it in your immediate universe, what we're talking about with your particular project with the cookbook and with what you do, in this ecosystem of food, and food services and food prep and food delivery and all of that. What might be missing in that? Because it's such an essential part. We need food each and every day just to survive.
3 times at minimum,
Exactly.
I think it's really like an unwillingness or fear of being vulnerable, of having true communication. I think with like the dynamics of politics and all of these things, even religion, like all these things are really heightened right now.
Sure.
I think people are fear of being criticized and fear of being seen as something different than who their true self is. And it's like we need to get back to look at the person, right?
Yes.
And like look at me as a human, and I want to have. We all long for connection.
That's right. That's
others.
right.
We're like flock animals. We like to be around other people.
Sure.
And so, and I do go back to COVID and all of that. And I think that wasn't the start of it, but I think it was a catalyst. And then since then, with social media being so in front of people and AI, and there's all these things, and people don't know what's real and what's not. And we just stepped away from one-on-one connection. And that's where, talking to someone in line waiting for your coffee, talking to your barista, talking to the cashier, of just being kind, of realizing they're just not a person there for work, that they're a person. And you can learn so much.
Totally. My dad taught me, and I laugh about it now, but I remember when I was a kid, people wear badges, or they have embroidered names on them. And sometimes even the individual who's wearing the badge or the lanyard or it's embroidered, they even forget that their name's on there. My dad told me one of the best tricks he ever had was you can do it at the grocery checkout line, because that's a place where, unless you're forced to do self-service, because that's really tricky. But he used to always approach the individual and use their name in the sentence. And he'd go, "Hey, Becky. Hey, Rod." And sometimes he would just make up a question, just to make it up.
Yeah.
But what was amazing, like you just said, sometimes all you have to do is connect, and in a simple way, because the badge gives you an invitation. You don't wear a badge, for just
to have it.
Exactly.
So I know what my name is.
Yeah, exactly. We know what our name is, but it lets the other person know either that they're affiliated, that they work for the store. Sometimes it has their title on it and that. But my dad said that, it is the best way to start a conversation, start a relationship, because sometimes if you don't know the person, you go, "Hey, Joyce," and Joyce kind of looks at you and go, "Do I know you?" And you go, "No, but you got a name badge on. I just said your name," and they totally forget.
Or they forget that I have it.
He taught me that. And then the other thing is you never know where, say, that checkout person has been the last day, the last week. You don't know what they've been through, because it seems like we're so quick to judge.
Yep.
And I know using that technique and then just taking a step back and actually, giving the other person an opportunity, because, that's the one thing. We don't know anything about this other person, and we're already tearing him down.
Yes.
And we're tearing ourselves down at the same time.
Yeah. And I think, it goes back to that personal one-on-one kind of feel. There's a reason why we introduce ourselves, like as a server. "Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm going to be your server this evening." Right. Instead, now it's like, "Hey, what do you want?"
Exactly.
And I'm like,
"Ready to order?"
Can we get back to a little bit more personal touches?
Right.
And that will make people want to show up.
Yeah. And I think that gets back to the kindness thing, if you're kind, you almost have to let go of yourself and give the other person the benefit, whether there's a relationship or not. But we all kind of know that if there is a relationship, that's always beneficial in most cases.
Yeah.
They're going to share information. There may be a special deal. There may be a discount. There may be something you don't even know, and they're aware of it. And they go, "Hey, Betty, I see it isn't published, but I can give you 25% off that." Well, if you were really negative and mean to this person, they're not going to give you any of that information.
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're barely going to talk to you.
Yeah.
They're not going to come back and ask if you want some more water. That's
right, exactly, for sure.
Yeah.
But I do like that. And I think when we start looking at, and maybe, I'm hoping by the end of this podcast, or at least, this may be the beginning, what are some of the things that we can start to consider in our own personal lives as we go about our days? Maybe it's something as simple as each and every morning you say, "Okay, today I'm going to try to meet one new person," or "I'm going to try to meet one new person and I'm going to learn something about that one new person." And then maybe the next time, this is what my dad loved to do, is the next time, man, it was both the person that you met and yourself, you're already on a first name basis.
Oh, yeah.
And that goes, you're in the food industry, my God, if you get good service, man, what you end up paying for compared to what you got, there's oftentimes a real benefit to the customer in that particular situation.
There is. Yeah. And I'm a lifelong server, bartender. And so I've always believed in, you treat every person that comes to your table as if they're special.
That's right.
And you treat them with kindness and respect, even if they're not that nice to you. But personally, it's like I also feel that since I started my business, it was all about just showing up. And it was like, I'm just going to show up to all the weird places that I'm supposed to go. If I'm asked to do something, like, you're going to count on me to show up because that's what we're called to do. And every time I do that, it's like a special moment, or I learn something, or it's an opportunity, or it builds onto something else, which is a bigger relationship and fostering a better community vibe. I love going to Gagliano's and, Vince is back there and Josephine and you have Tony at the front. And, these are things, these people have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this community and to being of service to the community and continuing to bring new things and be funny and be, a positive impact. But then every time you walk into there, they're going to know your name. Manja, eat this, have a cookie.
Exactly.
They treat you like your family, not just, oh, great, you're supposed to be here to spend your money here.
Maybe what we should do is maybe we can put out a challenge from this podcast that, before we get to the next podcast, but maybe one of the takeaways from this particular podcast is let's challenge our listeners that when they go out the next time to a restaurant or they go to a grocery store, or it could be anywhere, it doesn't have to be food related, but if it's customer service related, the next time you see someone with a badge, you intentionally go up, ask them a question and put their name in the ask and say, hey, Betty, do you have this kind of nail, in the hardware department? Or, hey, Chuck, I'd like to order this kind of drink. Could your bartender make this? I think that should be our challenge today, is let's challenge our listeners this week. When you go out, just put it in your mind and say, I'm going to approach someone that I do not know that has a badge. But even better, if they don't have a badge, go up and say, excuse me, my name's Greg. What's yours? I have a question for you.
Exactly.
Try and just see what that feels like.
It's going to change the whole perspective. I had a experience. Me and my family went to the Natural History Museum in Denver this past week. And I was looking for my daughter. She's 14. She kind of went somewhere else. And I was looking and I see this woman and she works there and she goes, hi, you look like you're looking for something to do. And I said, actually, I'm looking for my daughter. And she goes, oh, okay. But I want to tell you, she goes, my name is Nancy. She goes, and you look like you're looking for something to do. She's like, so I want you to go back to this part of the museum.
Right.
She goes, and I want you to take the elevators to your left. And she tapped my left arm, so you remember.
Okay.
And she was like, and go up to the fourth floor.
Yeah.
And it is the best view of Denver. She goes, and when you get up there, you're going to say, thank you, Nancy. And so I told my friends who were with me and my husband, and we, obviously we found my daughter.
Right.
We went and I said, we're supposed to go up and look at this.
Right.
So we went up to the top. And sure enough, there was a gentleman up there who just got done and he set up some telescopes to look at the sun.
Oh my gosh.
And so we were like, oh, so we sat there, we looked at the sun, we had a great conversation with him.
Right.
And as we all left, we're like, wow, thanks, Nancy. And I will not forget her name because Nancy taught me something new.
Right.
But it's and that's part of her showing up, right? She was showing up for someone who looked like they needed something to do.
Right.
And it's the same thing. And I always go back to restaurants, right? It's kindness.
Yeah.
And you never know what someone may be going through.
That's
and just even saying,
Exactly.
thank you, Tom, that I had such a great meal. Wow, man, that made my day.
And, and sometimes I think, sometimes I see that some people, it's a gift they just have, the way they approach people. But, you can actually work with your staff. You can work with your teams. And there are a lot of really simple exercises. And you can work, you can't really teach people to be kind, because some people just aren't kind,
That's true.
But when you start talking about how people interact with, say, at the museum, you've got these patrons, you've got restaurants, you've got customers, you've got all these different types. But at the end of the day, a lot of this really, it's just practice, and you consciously have to say, because isn't it wonderful if you're able to go through your day and you can actually connect your activities by the names of the people that you connected with.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would much rather map that out. Maybe that's an exercise for a future challenge, is you have to map out your day, but don't map it out by place. Map it out by the names of the people that were the touchstones throughout all of that. I think we're going to have a little exercise book here on how to connect.
Exercise.
Well, that's what we're talking about. What's missing, in our world today. And the whole thing, this whole first part is about community. It's about connection. But the other thing that we talked a little bit, about this, the tension, shall we say, that's in, because there is another side of all of this. And you mentioned it early in the introduction, we see a lot of this online.
Yeah.
And I think it is kind of the nature of online activity is it's very passive aggressive. It's like this free zone to just be. You could be anywhere from the kindest person on the planet to the meanest and most non-transparent person because you can hide in the dark.
Yeah.
And
that's why I call them the keyboard critics.
Okay, I like that. That's a polite way.
Yeah.
That's very polite.
Yeah.
The KCs of the world.
And that's something that has really, really, really been bothering me online because you have a choice. You have a conscious choice to shut up.
Right.
Or you have a conscious choice to get online and just be mean.
That's right.
And I think that's really, one, it's a waste of time and energy.
Totally.
Not only for you, but also for the business or the person in which you are bashing online, right? Because that's there and everyone can see it. And then people you can go ahead and chime on in.
Right.
And it really just causes community members to attack one another rather than foster progress, which then, in fact, hinders community growth and connection. It creates, again, that bitterness and bad leadership morale.
Yep.
And we see, like I said, way too many businesses close their doors because they just feel like they're truly not supported by the community in which they serve.
Right. It's almost like a virus.
It is.
It's contagious.
Yeah.
It does take effort to fight because it can sometimes be so heavy, and if our day is already 50% noise and swirl, we talk about this, why add more to that?
Well, and you don't know, one, what you may be causing on someone's mental health.
That's right.
And two, how that will lead to those owners of restaurants to their staff.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they're treating their staff bad. And then guess what? Then you're the one who also gets bad service because the staff morale is down.
That's right. That's right. It is. It's very toxic.
Yeah.
Very,
it becomes a toxic workplace.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, one of the things that we're finding at the Star Journal, especially with our investigative reporting, is that we go through all this stuff and then we realize, God, it doesn't need to be this way. God, just think if we didn't have to deal with this, what other things we could be doing. But I think that's it. It's just really healthy for us. First, it's going to take time, but it's first to acknowledge it.
Right.
Be aware. Then it's going to be it's going to be up to each and every individual or each and every group or each and every company to kind of decide, for themselves in terms of their mission and their vision, where they want to see themselves, where they want to see their company. That's going to be up to them. And I'm hoping, that, again, sometimes it's just stopping what you're doing, taking a deep breath and just taking a step back and look at it for what it really is. And then
never respond when you're angry.
Oh, when there's emotions involved. It's like going to the grocery store when you're hungry. Yeah. You just don't do that.
Absolutely not. You'll definitely forget every reason why you went there in the first place.
And then you're going to have because right now it's already torture. I mean, I go into this grocery store now and I say, I'm not going to spend more than $150. And I think I did really well. And then it's like $202. I go, how'd that happen?
And you realize that all you went for was toilet paper.
Exactly. Toilet paper and some cleaning fluid.
An onion.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's personally, this is something I was like, we have this platform with this podcast to really bring things to light.
Right.
And I feel like this is something that's really been bothering me. And one of the things that's really personally, it just breaks my heart, some of the comments that I see that's like, oh, they'll be closed in 6 months. Oh, good luck. Oh, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Just stop it.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they're rooting for failure.
Exactly.
It's really, it's, and I don't think that's a uniquely Pueblo thing.
No, it's not.
I think it's something that humanity is having to confront really seriously right now.
Well, it's like, when did we get our highs from breaking people down.
Yeah, I mean, it's really twisted.
Like, if you don't want to go to that space or go to that business,
Right.
don't do it.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that you have to bash it when you know nothing about it.
Exactly.
And so for me personally too, like restaurant-wise, I'm like, if you haven't ran a restaurant, worked in one, or had a business of your own, please stop telling people how they should run theirs.
Exactly. No, I hear you. I hear you. And I think this is going to take some time. And I think one of the beautiful things and the kind of the third part of this segment is what we're calling, and I'm so excited about this Jocelyn in the wild. And I am so, because you brought it up. This was not, we started this whole thing because we want to publish a cookbook.
Right.
And, that's beautiful in its own right. But then over the first month or two, we started talking about what are the things that we love to do, each and every year. And you said point blank, you love to be out on the farms.
I do.
And I think we've kind of coined this, it'll be a podcast within a podcast. It's going to be very experiential. In fact, we're discussing now whether we're going to have a video component because there is such a visual component to being out on the farms.
Oh, yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about what this is going to be like, because I think it really plays well in terms of what we've just been talking about, because one of the easiest ways for us to shift that narrative, shift that paradigm, kind of tweak that negative is to actually get people out on the farms.
Yes.
So whether they're going to come with us, which is a possibility, because we're going to set it up so that people can actually be present when you're out in the wild. I mean, it'll be really fun. I can already see it happening. We're going to have to get everyone t-shirts so we know who's out in the wild. Yeah.
Please put on this color.
Exactly. No, somehow we'll create a little Jocelyn of the Wild tribe, that can help us do this. But I think it might be a really good way for us to look at one of Pueblo's greatest hidden secrets.
Yes.
I mean, I'm still amazed that, a bulk of everything that grows in this, agricultural paradise just bypasses us and goes up the front range.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit, when does the season start when we can find people in the wild like you?
Well, I mean, I think it really starts to pick up like end of July.
Okay.
August, you'll really start like farms like opening all the time.
Right. And they're open. I mean,
they're open now.
This is the funny thing is that,
Yeah.
Some people think, what do you mean they're open from 8 to 5 every day? I mean, this is a funny thing.
Every day. You could go out there. And right now, I mean, Millburgers, you guys, has the most beautiful asparagus.
Which is amazing. It looks like it came from another planet.
They're huge. They're beautiful. And of course, it's a little early because of the heat right now.
Right.
So get out to Millburgers.
Are they in those pans that have the water?
Yes.
That is amazing. When I first saw them, I thought, where do they grow? And then I realized it comes from here. But it looks like it's from another planet.
I know, and they're huge. They're not like what you're seeing at the store.
They're not like pencil stick. They're like pencil. No, exactly.
These are, they're a good inch wide. They're purple. They're gorgeous. They're meaty. They're delicious.
How do you, just not going into much detail, but how do you like to serve that? How do you find people? I mean, because some people, they love asparagus and they know, I love to make asparagus soup.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do that.
I actually just love to saute it
with
butter and garlic and then finish it with a little bit of lemon. And actually, that's going to be the recipe for this May episode, or for the May
Pueblo Star Junior?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I just saw it come through.
Yes.
So I'm already thinking, because I love to make asparagus soup.
Yes.
So.
And you could actually turn that into a soup.
I was going to say, it's all the prep work and everything. I just have to pop it in my blender.
Yep. And the other thing is I love to mix it with eggs, like scrambled eggs. You just saute asparagus,
yes.
mix it with like eggs or make an omelet.
I've had frittatas with that, where they do the potatoes and the asparagus and the eggs and a little bit of cheese and whatever you like in it.
And if
that's
you don't
like a meal in a pot. Meal in a pan. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
No, and so there's that. And then, after that, the first big thing is going to be marrows and the strawberry picking.
I was just going to ask you, because one of the things I have on my thing here to make sure is, because it's one thing to talk about asparagus, but like you said, Millburgers, asparagus, marrows, it's really important for us because, this is such an important conversation that sadly, for a long time, it was almost, you almost had to be an insider to know what was going on out there, but it's open to everyone.
It's funny. When I first moved back, and this was 18 years ago, during farm season, I was like, oh, I want to go out to the farms to get my food. And my mom would go out to the farms and she would have all this great produce. And I was like, where are you going?
Exactly.
And so, and I was going to Morrow's.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a minute. And so I wanted to go to Musso's.
Okay.
So my mom was going to Musso's and she would have this plethora of all this amazing produce. And I was like, where are you going? I just found, some baked goods. There was some produce and I got all these lovely beans. So Morrow's, you get like the best bean varieties
I've
ever.
heard that. That was told.
And
I remember.
So my mom was like, Jocelyn, like it's right there. But what I realized is I was taking a left and not a right.
Oh, that's right.
So it's literally the same block. But if you take a left, you're going to get some produce, but it's mainly baked goods, your rice, your beans. And I go there for their lentils and all their things. Yeah. But I needed to go right. To get to Musso's.
Musso's, yeah.
And so it was just really funny. And
after a while, you do figure out, because this is what I've learned, and maybe this is something we can think about for the Pueblo Star Journal, because we provide resources for people. Those are the things that are really important, because they're all a little bit different. They all have their strengths and their weaknesses. But when you look at all of them, and in this particular case, it's a right or a left. So they're right there. I mean, you can literally, and you should go to both because you can get certain things at one. And so it's building, what is it that you like? What is it that your family likes? Right. And then if you run a restaurant or you're just looking for, ideas for your own business.
And like for me, I mean, I built a great relationship with all of those places, and especially when farm season is here, I'm there like twice a week. That's where I go, 8 a.m. I'm at Musso's, ready to like get all the produce. It's open from 8 to 5. 7 days a week.
So think about it. You've got King Soopers, you've got Safeway, you've got Albert, you got all these stores. They're open, regular hours. The farm just happens to be where it comes from.
Exactly.
So it's instead of aisle number 9, you're going down the lane, to the barn or to the store, or you're literally going out to the field, because some of them it's like pick and buy and eat, And
then you have DeSantis and you have all of these different farms. And I mean, they really are really close, and you can map out your entire morning of shopping by boom, I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go there and then I'm going to go back to Millburgers and have a salad.
Right. And they have the best salad bar. They have the best salad bar none. I mean, there is no other salad bar in Pueblo.
No.
Millburgers has the best. And when you go to the salad bar, I mean, I love going to salad bar when I find things I don't know what they are.
Oh, yeah.
It's all fresh. It's all cut up. And it's by weight, isn't it?
Yes.
It's by weight. So that's really clever.
And I just love it.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for that season to start. And then, you get to see new things. It's going to be a very interesting year. It's going to be really hot. So
I was just going to ask, because we're having some issues because of the drought.
Yeah.
And because of the heat.
Yes.
In fact, I was looking at what some of the crises that we're going to probably face because of the lack of water all winter. Yeah. And then we've got this drought now. That impacts what we're actually going to be able to find at our farms.
It is. And I'm just praying for our farmers. And I think everyone just needs to pray for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is my 3rd year on my asparagus growing. So I planted it 3 years ago, and that's year 3, you can harvest it.
I was going to ask you, I know there's a whole there's a whole process behind
it.
Yeah,
if you harvest it early, they won't come back.
That's right.
So this was year 3, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a month early.
Right. Because that's right. When you said that Millburgers already has that. I mean, that's really early, because we're just in April.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and it's so hot that it's growing so fast that it's going to seed right away.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But also because of the heat, I mean, we have to remember that our peppers are going to be really hot this year.
I was going to say that's usually what happens. So it's going to be a hot year.
Yeah.
And I know the Pueblo Star Journal, we have a very big presence at the Chili Fest this year. Yeah, we're going to have a booth and everything. So stay tuned. That's going to be a lot of fun. But when we look at, I mean, what I love about today's podcast and what we're trying to do moving forward is, we're kind of really focusing in on some, as we've done before in episode 1 and 2. We can talk forever.
Right.
In fact, we talk for about an hour and a half. What we're trying to do now is really dial in very, very carefully. And today it was really about, what are some of the takeaways? We're talking about connection. We're talking about, how do we create connection and community engagement? And how do we deal with negativity? And what is negativity? And how can we maybe go out in the morning, with a call to action?
Yeah.
And I love this idea of just in your day, consciously try to come home, and you can remember the person's name. Who did you meet at this restaurant? Who did you meet at this store? Who did you meet at this clinic? Whatever it should be, try to do that consciously.
I would say it's about conscious connections.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think we need to get back to that. And that even goes back to like the Jocelyn in the Wild or going to a farm. You're going to build those different connections with people over looking at watermelons or whatever it is that you're doing. And that is going to foster a healthier community. And I think that's the basis of like really what I want people to hear from what I'm saying in this podcast is no matter what's going on in your life, there's something going on in someone else's life.
That's right.
And to consciously choose to be kind and understanding, and that is going to build better community connections.
Exactly. And I think what we have both agreed upon, at the end of this particular episode is that community isn't automatic. It just doesn't happen. And it is something that we choose. And through this episode, just this one little task that we ask you to do this week, go out and consciously, whether they have a name tag or not, approach someone you don't know with a question, with a concern, with an idea. But remember and try to use their name at least one time in the conversation, because that's the way I remember names now.
Yeah.
Because once you start using a name in a sentence, it's so much easier. But, when you get home, all of a sudden, everyone's just bitching and complaining about the experience when in fact they could have approached someone on a first name basis, literally. And, whether you resolved it or not, I think both parties are going to have more respect for each other. And like you said, as soon as emotion is involved and there was no time to think or to breathe, it does become really toxic.
Yeah.
And other people watch.
Yeah.
Other people around are listening. And it's just something that we can choose to not do. And so I'm hoping, and it's not easy. It takes practice.
It does.
It does.
And it takes reminders.
That's
like,
right.
Oh, I could
That's
have
right.
handled that.
Put it on your refrigerator.
Better.
We should send a little sticker, a magnet, a little bit of kindness goes a long way, and that is so true. But if you can attach that kindness to someone by name, I think that does a lot. And if you go back, if it's a place you like, if it's a place you don't like, you don't have to go again. Like you said earlier.
Just don't go.
Exactly. Just don't go. And don't put on Facebook, why you're not going. That's not important for others.
It isn't.
It's really not. One of the things I wanted to walk away with, but we've already answered it twice, is, what's the one thing someone can do this week to support their community?
I would ask for you to go somewhere that you haven't been before. Go to, if you've never been to Gagliano's, go and purchase something, have an experience. If you haven't, out to one of the farms, go out there, have an experience. Just go somewhere new that you haven't been in the community and just allow yourself to witness it and experience it. And that's where you start showing up. And I promise you, you'll end up making a connection that could possibly change the trajectory of your life.
And lastly, Jocelyn, can you give us just a quick update on where the cookbook is?
Right now, I am gathering is what it's about. It's like looking at it from a perspective of, oh shit, am I really doing this? And then it was like, oh yeah, that's happening, and making sure that like, Jocelyn, get all your ducks in a row, like fill into what you really want, like fill into the authenticity. I can't even talk today. Thank you. Of how I want to show up with my voice. But really right now it's gathering those recipes that I've been collecting over the years, seeing which ones I want in this cookbook, where I want to put them, and then also still trying new recipes. I'm getting ready to leave on retreat in 3 days, and that's a space where I really get to try like new recipes as well. And I have someone with me who helps like write those down. So right now I'm in the gathering process of that and gathering like what I want inside of the book.
You've been listening to Soul Fresh, Soul Clean, Episode 3. This is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast, presented by the Pueblo Star-Journal. This episode was produced and narrated by Jocelyn Martinez and Gregory Howell. To learn more and to support nonprofit local news in Pueblo, Colorado, visit pueblostarjournal.org. If you would like to share your food story, reach out to Jocelyn at jocelyn@pueblostarjournal.org. We want to hear from you. Thank you for listening.
Homeownership is possible with a trusted partner.
It brings us a lot of joy to be able to say that this house is our own and that we've poured our hearts into making it our own.
Alyssa and Ryan are among the more than 155,000 people Chaffa has helped become homeowners since 1974. It starts with homebuyer education and connecting you with a statewide network of participating lenders. Get started at chfainfo.com/yourhome. Chaffa is an equal housing lender.